conversations tonight. I don't want to use that. Funny conversations tonight with a lot of people, or should I say today, with a lot of people, because there was um, so many that thought they needed to give me an explanation, and all I said was simply, "You're invited. You've been invited." You know, you've been invited, and you'll understand that conversation a little more as we get further into this conversation. You've been invited. That's all I can do is invite you. It's not my responsibility to make sure that you get there. It's not my responsibility to move things out of the way and to do, you know what I'm saying? That's personal responsibility. We have to take some personal responsibility in this hour. And I'm telling you right now, woo, Lord have mercy. Have mercy. I don't know. I don't know. All I can say is, Father, have mercy, because the things that the Father is putting in the mouth of his prophets in this season, the things that he's putting in the mouths of his apostles, of his hand, the apostle, prophet, pastor, teacher, evangelist, the things that he's putting in the mouth of his servants in this season, it's very serious. It's nothing to joke about. It's nothing to take lightly. It's very serious. And so I'm just going to just stay in a place of worship just for a few moments, if you don't mind. We're just going to worship. Give me about 5 minutes. We'll move in at about 3:08. We'll move in because I just want to you know, I just want to take it all in tonight. I want to take it all in tonight. Father, we just give you praise. We magnify your name. You're an awesome God, and we thank you tonight for this time, for this 3 a.m. Elder could tell you she's been with me for about 7 or 8 years now, and we've done all kinds of times. We've been on it all kinds of times. It's not like the Father has been partial to any particular time, but we've been on it all kinds of times. And the reality is that when he calls as sons, we just have to respond. That's it. It was one of my grandchildren's favorite songs when they were much, much younger. This song called Respond. I don't remember, I think it was Travis Green. I think it's a song by Travis Green, but it was called Respond. And I promise you, then babies, we loved that song in that season. It was a very profound song. But she'll tell you, I'm not big on the numbers are not as much important to me as that the people that need to be there are there, if that makes sense to you. It's more important for me to know that the people that the Father has called into the room are present, more so than it being like 50,000 people, right? 10,000 people in the room, 1K in the room. I don't need that right now, because what the Father needs from us in this season is just to understand that there's a small number of people that he needs to do the work that he's wanting to do in the earth. It's so small. I'm going to just share this with you. I hadn't planned to go straight into this, and maybe we'll back out of this and go into some more, just a little bit more time of worship. But he was sharing this with me the other day as he was giving me, rehearsing with me the mandate, rehearsing with me the thing that he desires for his people to understand, rehearsing with me the thing that he needs me to understand in order to execute the orders that I've been given for this season. And one of the things that he shared, I thought it was so profound, okay? And I'm going to share from a place where I'm going to give you some verses of scripture, but I have an expectation that you as believers that are listening to me, that you will be able to go and begin to be as the Bereans and search out what I'm saying to you, okay? So I'm going to freely speak to you. I'm not going to come to beat you over the head with a bunch of verses. I don't know how many verses I'll give you. However, I'm going to speak from his throne. I'm going to speak from his heart. I'm going to speak from his mind tonight. And my expectation is that you as believers are going to take this word and you're going to go before him. The things that you've heard, the things that you're writing down, the things that you are recording, you're going to write them down as you're recording them in your book, in your notebook. And you're going to take them before him and you're going to begin to search out the things that I'm saying. But one of the things, mighty God, what an awesome God. One of the things that I thought was so profound that he shared with me, he said, I only need a few to do what I want to do. And he began to share with me the verse of scripture that talks about one can put 1,000 to flight and 10,000. Well, while we might make a really big deal about, the gathering, we don't really understand the math of God. This is what he really wanted to get across. It really wasn't actually it was the vastness. It was the difference between the 1,000 and 10,000. He really wanted to make a point of. And so what I did was I began to sit down per his instruction by the prompting of his spirit and take a deeper look at that. And when I realized that what he was expressing was the difference between the 1,000 and the 10,000 being 9 times a difference, right? Then he began to sit me down and had me begin to multiply what it looked like, something he began to talk to me about many, many years ago about this 12. And so when I got to 12, let me see if I can pull it up. When I got to 12, I had multiplied because the father always, the master, particularly per his father's instructions, always sent people out 2 by 2. He sent his leaders out 2 by 2, right? So if I did the math on the 2 by 2, which I did, and I'm going to pull it up for you. This was so profound. It said one can put 1,000 to flight, and two can put 10,000 to flight. So I began to continue to add that, do the 9 times every number that came up after I added to it the next two. But I was doing it in multiples of 9. And do you know what I came up with? Do you understand the profound nature of what the Father is, who he is and his people, and what he's allowing us to accomplish? 12 people by twos came up to 590,490,000 people. I'm sorry, uh, accomplishing those that are going to flight. Let me back up. 590,490,000 to flight, just from 12 people. Can you imagine what the Father's desire was for the children of Israel when he was saying, I want to make you to be my people and I want to be your God, but I'm going to make you a nation, a kingdom of priests. I'm going to make you a nation of kings and priests. The position that I'm placing you in is for you to be able to capture the world. Are you listening to what I'm saying? It's a position of capturing the world with what I am, with who I am. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's such a profound, profound thing. And we'll talk more about that as we're discussing things about discipleship. I don't know that the Father's going to take me in that direction tonight, but I'm really excited about what he's doing. I'm really excited about what he's doing. I'm excited about what he's saying to us and what he's going to say to us, because I believe that what he's going to say tonight has profound impact on how you're going to move after tonight. It has profound impact for how you're going to move and what you're going to think about your position after tonight. After tonight, what you're seeing and what you're thinking about who you are is going to matter to you differently. It's going to matter to you differently. Far too long, we have taken on a lesser position. We have taken on a lesser position. Are you listening to me? And in taking on that lesser position, we have not accomplished the thing that the Father has called us to accomplish. 1 John 3:2, the word of the Lord says this: Beloved, now are we become the sons of God. And you're going to understand the implications of this so much before we get off of this live. You're going to understand the implications of what and all that he's saying concerning becoming the sons of God. This is such a mighty word. It's such a privilege. You understand what I'm saying? It's such a privilege. He said, beloved, now, right now, are you become the sons of God, and it does not yet appear. My God, he said, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. This is so, when I tell you this is a foundation for what we're going to communicate tonight, this is so foundational tonight. Now are we become. It's the becoming thing. You hear what I'm saying? There are offers to become. My question tonight is, what offer are you taking in this hour? And yes, this is kinetic prayer. And we're going to talk about what kinetic prayer is. And I'm laying some groundwork right now. I'm laying some foundation for you so that we can go in a direction. You understand what I'm saying? He says there are offers to become, but the question is, what offer are you taking in this hour? There may have been other hours where you thought of yourself as lesser. There may have been other hours when you were trying to pull yourself and, just kind of um, um, just kind of cover your light a little bit, right? You didn't want people to see who you were. Yes, there was another season where we were being sheltered, where we were being chambered, and the Father was really hiding the sons. He's been hiding the sons, and this is why the world is in such disarray. I'm going to ask you a question that the Father asked me. He asked me this question as I began to write some things that he was sharing with me, and there will be some more things attached to what we're doing by the end of the week. I'm going to share them with you. Maybe I'll share them with you today, but I'm going to share some things with you. But he began to ask me a question, and I want to ask this question of you as sons. He said, what is the earth doing without your influence as a son? What is the earth doing without your influence? I want you to just pause, and I want you to think about that just for a minute. I want you to think about that just for a moment. Think about it. What is the earth doing without your influence? I need you to think about that for a moment. That's a Selah moment. That's a Selah moment. Listen, what is the earth doing without your influence? And it's not enough for you to just say, okay, well, I'm going to church and I go to Bible study and I am involved in a couple of prayer lines and all of these things. He's saying, no, 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 no. I need you to understand that by way of bringing you into the earth, okay, by entering you into the earth through the matrix of your mother's womb, there was a purpose that I had on your life. And there was an influence that you were to bring in the spheres of influence that you are called to. There's some influence that's supposed to be taking place there. But the Father's question is, what is the earth doing without your influence? What is the earth going to do? How is it going to function? What is it looking like right now? It void of your interaction, void of you interjecting the thing that I have put in you to make a difference in the earth. Do you know that the reason that you were born, the reason that you were formed was because you were an answer to earth's issues? You were an answer to earth's issue. That's who you are. That's who you are as a son. I've got to communicate some things to you tonight before we really go into this place of actualizing this thing. I've got to reveal some things to you because you've been living beneath the privilege. You've been living beneath your inheritance. You've not been living on the level of your inheritance. We've not been fully living on the level of our inheritance because there have been convincing and persuasive conversations that have told us that we need to pull back a little bit. We don't need to stand out like that. We don't need to say certain things. We don't need to function a certain way because it would be drawing too much attention. And here's the thing. My question is, if you were not meant, if just you being the person that you are, single, right? The single person that you are, nobody is like you. Your fingerprint is the only print like that. Your who you are in your character and in your whole entire makeup is the only one of your kind. And you're telling me that's supposed to be hidden? Are you telling me that as a son, that's supposed to be hidden? I remember the word declaring that you can't put a light under a bushel. I remember the word declaring that the light was supposed to be shining. And the only place that a light can shine is in a dark place. So if you put your light out, that means that everybody, including you, remains in darkness. Are you listening to what I'm telling you? We've been living beneath our privilege. We've been living beneath our privilege as sons. And I'm going to share some things that are going to seem so lofty. and so high that is going to throw some people off. Now, maybe not the people that are on currently, maybe not those that are listening to this right now, but in the scheme of things, in the grand scheme of things, it's the reason why the sons have been hidden. It's the reason why we have not been out in front of people and saying a whole bunch, because the things that we're going to share in this season, even the declarations, even the prophetic um, declaring that the Father is going to put in the mouths of his son, that he's already put in the mouths of his sons, is so aggravating to religious people. It's going to be so aggravating to the religious. And I'm going to tell you why it's going to be so aggravating. One day you were probably one of those religious that the truth was very aggravating to. But you know why the truth was so aggravating to you in another season? Because you had become so indoctrinated by the lie. Listen, you had become so indoctrinated by the lie that the truth was irritating you. So aggravated by the truth because you were indoctrinated by the lie. So the truth was just, it was an irritant. It became an irritant to you. You understand what I'm saying? There were certain things that I used to say back in the day, and Elder can tell you some things just used to rub her the wrong way. Why? Because she was in that season. She had been indoctrinated by another message. She had been given another message. And yes, we would love, hey, sister, we would love to just say, oh, well, everything I got, it was good. No, it was good for this purpose that the Father said, I'll work it all out for your good. I'll take everything. I'm not going to discount anything. I'm not going to not use anything. I'm going to use it all. And it's all going to work. It's all going to work for you. That doesn't mean that we don't have to shed things from where we came from. That doesn't mean that we don't have things that have to be shed because things were attached to us that the Father never intended to be attached to us. And as a matter of fact, it was supposed to fall off as we were rising, but because the mechanism was never pushed, the mechanism didn't work. We were carrying that thing with us and it was continuing to weigh us down. Can I tell you something? I was sharing this on Facebook the other day, and I was saying that the reason why there's such an aggravation in the soul of so many sons is because they have not walked into or stepped into their authentic self. Behold, now we're become is not just an arrival place, but it's a continual place. We're become the sons of God, and every time there's an appearance, every time the Father begins to reveal himself, whether he reveals it through this, that, or the other, every time he begins to reveal himself, we begin to become more like him. More like him. You listen to what I'm saying? Indoctrination. There's been so much indoctrination over the years, over the course of our lives. And that indoctrination was intended. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that taught you the wrong thing intended to teach you the wrong thing. That's not what I'm saying. But they were used. I'm gonna share something with you. I'm not gonna jump ahead of myself though. I'm gonna share something with you about that. When I get to it, I'm gonna remember that I wanted to share with you because I'm not gonna jump ahead of myself. That something can be intended for you, right? But it could that which is intended for you as it pertains to the things that darkness wants to bring into your life, right? It travels a path. And so I'll just share. 2 days ago, had to been, I'm wanting to say that it was Friday, Saturday. Yeah, I wanted to say that it was Friday, so that would be 3 days ago. Friday in the afternoon, somewhere around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It might have been 6 or 7, 7 o'clock. I'll say 7 because the meeting was over. I was invited to a meeting, and I went to this meeting to represent those that sent me, of course. And the meeting went well. I shared some things. I heard some things that were confirmation. It was a meeting concerning community development and this kind of thing. And so I shared some things, and I heard some things that were confirmation for what the Father wanted to do. Now, this is around the time that I'm preparing. I'm still preparing, and I'm invested in this thing that the Father has spoken to me about kinetic prayer. We're going to talk about it in a minute, what that is. If you've been reading my posts on Facebook or anywhere else, you kind of have an idea about, an idea about what it is. Here's the thing. I'm in this meeting and everything's going good. And I'm shaking hands and exchanging, information, and people are wanting to be connected and this kind of thing. And I walk away from someone, and as I'm walking away, I begin to slip and slide on the floor. Now, anybody that knows me knows I'm graceful when I walk. I can walk in heels, I can walk in flats, I can walk in tennis shoes, I can walk in flip flops. It don't matter what I'm walking in. There's a grace with me, okay? So I'm not out here just fumbling around and falling around. But the funny thing about this is that I began to fall. And as I was falling, I had my backpack, which has my laptop in it. So, of course, I'm going to protect the laptop. I'm not going to allow the laptop to come crashing down to the floor in this backpack. And my purse was on my other arm. And so I don't even remember how all of it went, but somehow none of that hit the ground. But my left knee kind of touched down on the ground. It was a little, skinned a little bit, not a whole lot. But then I was kind of like, my foot was like doing something, like it was just the craziest thing. But it was a graceful fall nonetheless. I got up from that place and I was like, I'm okay. Everybody was trying to check on me. Are you okay? Are you okay? Yes, I am okay. I'm fine. Then I began to ask, did you see the grace on that? Like, the fall was graceful though. And they were like, no, that fall was absolutely graceful. But I was feeling something in my foot, which, by the way, I'm sitting on my feet right now. This is not what I could do the night of this incident. Okay. But I was feeling something, and I was feeling the pain of the fall on my foot. And so I recognized, I said, well, I've kind of injured myself a little bit, but I'm going to be okay. And I knew that because I know my body and I know who I am. So it wasn't an option. Okay, you've broken something. That wasn't an option. It wasn't an option. I'm going to the hospital to find out if I'm okay. None of that was an option because I understood that there was an assignment. I understood that I had something to do, and that right in the place where I began to say yes, right in the place where I began to go on this journey, I knew something was going to attempt to come to try to interrupt the journey. You understand what I'm saying? So I said, no big deal. I walked out of that place. I greeted some people. I shook some more hands. I walked out of there. I walked to the car that I rode in to get there, sat down in the car, took my shoe off, which was like a sling back kind of wedge heel kind of thing, took it off and began to rub my foot and begin to speak to my body. And I got some oils out of my bag. I took out some iodine and I did a couple of things and I just kind of rubbed the area. Well, by the time I got to the store, okay, we're going to talk about this kinetic prayer. This is where this plugs in at. By the time I got to the store, my foot is swollen up on the side. It was a knot on the side of my foot. It was a knot on the side of my foot, a knot. Okay. And so it was no putting the shoe back on to go into the store. I literally had to walk into Walmart with one shoe off. I was barefoot on one foot, like totally barefoot. I didn't have a sock. I didn't have nothing. I had to walk barefoot into Walmart. Okay. One shoe on. I had to ride the cart. That's how serious this knot was. This is how much it was impairing my ability to walk. Okay. She's getting ready to shift into a gear now. I already know how he moves. It was impairing my ability to walk. So I got on the cart and I drove the cart. And so as I come out of the store, of course, I'm in the store with someone. I'm like, okay, I need that watermelon. I'm banging on watermelons in the thing. I'm not taking them out like I normally do, pet them. I'm just trusting what I hear. And I'm like, okay, I need that one. I need that one. And so I'm getting my things and we get to the thing and we get to the car. I drove it out to the car, drove right to the thing, got out, kind of hobbled into the car. It took me a minute, to get into the car because I had to position everything so I wouldn't be putting any pressure on the foot, so I wouldn't be, in any pain. Get all the way to the house to get out of the car. And I got out of the car to kind of step down on the ground and I'm like hobbling. And so in that moment, I said, listen, I'm not doing this. Okay. I'm going to need to walk. I'm speaking to myself, right? I'm declaring this, but I'm speaking to myself. Physician, heal yourself. I'm going to need to walk. This hobbling around is not what I'm called to. I'm going to need to walk. So I literally went from hobbling. I took 2 steps, kind of hobbling, took 2 steps and began to walk to the door. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't feel the pressure that was on my foot. I want you to be very clear. It's not that I didn't feel the pressure. I just wasn't going to give in to the pressure. Come on now, I need you to hear what I'm saying. I told you you've been living beneath your right. You've been living beneath your privilege as a son. You've been living beneath your inheritance, okay? And we're going to get into some things, but I'm telling you, I decided I'm not getting ready to do that. That's not how I'm about to function. That's not my functionality. Are you listening to what I'm saying? And I begin to walk to the house, feeling the pressure. Now, Elder Vicky can tell you that I have said this over and over again. And I understand that when you begin to declare a word, you're going to have to live by it. Because I told you before that when you feel the pressure of something, come on, I don't have a womb for it. When you feel the pressure of something, that is not for you to fold, but it's for you to push. If I don't know nothing, I know how to push something out. I'm a mother of 5. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand the point of pressure. Somebody put in the chat window, understand the point of pressure. Understand the point of pressure is not for you to fold, it's for you to push. Understand the point of pressure. I walked to the house, I walked into the house, and I walked from the door to my room to drop off my things and to come back to the door to make sure everything was brought out of the car. And then I came into my room and I sat for a moment and I began to ponder some things and think about, the day and begin to, just work through some things, right? Understand the point of pressure. Understand it. You got to understand it. And I went to the bathroom and I began to run this hot bath as hot as I could get it. I put my salts and all the things that I was going to put in this water because I knew what was going to be beneficial, right? And so I made it as hot as I could get it. And then I went and I got in this tub and I just sat for at least an hour. I kept turning the water on to keep the water hot, just sit and just soak. Came out of that bath and I promise you considerably this knot on my foot had shrunk already. It had already shrunk. I still felt the pressure. I was never in any excruciating pain. I want you to be very clear. Pain was not an option. The pain was not, it was uncomfortable. I felt discomfort, but I was never in any pain. That was not an option for me. That was not something that I was going to allow. I was not going to give in to the pressure to create the pain. You understand what I'm saying? I felt the pressure, but the pressure wasn't for pain. The point of the pressure was for me to push. The point of the pressure was for me to come into a place, was for me to step into a conversation. It was for me to begin to step into a declaration. You understand what I'm saying? So I went through all the processes that I needed to go through, because one of the things that I want to share with you tonight, and I'll repeat it again, I feel myself coming into that space. One of the things I want to share with you tonight about kinetic prayer is that it's not a passive act. We have a lot of prayer lines all over the world, and Elder Vicky can tell you. I did a prayer line for 7 or 8 years. That's where she met me at, was on a prayer line. Okay. She met me in a time of prayer when I was doing something similar to this. This is where she met me. And I was doing it 3 times a day. The Father had me on Periscope. I was doing a similar thing on Periscope 3 times a day. Okay. Massive following 3 times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. The power of 3 was what he gave me in that season. And it was a powerful thing. Yes, we did the detox. We did do spiritual detox. We did a number of things, but I was in the thrust of the power of 3. And we were doing a time like this of prayer and conversation 3 times a day. And we were breaking barriers and we were breaking strongholds, and people were getting healed and people were becoming sons, and they were getting delivered. They were understanding and identifying with what they needed to identify with, to walk in the way that they needed to walk. Are you understanding what I'm saying? It was a powerful time then. And my expectation is that, again, it's going to be a powerful time. But listen, I said that to say this, that weapon that was formed came to challenge the word that was given to me. Okay. But I'm going to give you more of the story. I'm going to show you something, because remember, I told you that there's a target, that the enemy can have a target, right? And this process of him targeting something to get to you. Let me share this with you. 30 minutes before I took that fall, after that, I fell after the meeting, but a woman fell in the meeting. In the back of the room, she fell down, just standing there. She fell down. Okay. Now, I'm going to fast forward because I'm in my bed now and I'm resting. I should say I'm attempting to take my rest. Okay. I'm in my bed and I'm coming to the place of rest at this point. And I'm noticing, okay, I'm trying to do all these different things. I'm trying to prop my foot up. Okay, they say you should prop it up if it's swollen, you should do all these different things. And none of that was working for me. Okay. So then I said, okay, I understand that there is a necessity. I've got to change. And this is going to sound off for religious people, but people that are spiritual are going to understand it, because everything in life has frequency. Everything in life is born of a frequency. Everything in life has something that is connected to it. That it's a frequency, whether it's a high resonance or a low resonance, it has a frequency. Light has frequency, color has frequency. We as individuals have frequency, but our frequency is determined by how we're living our lives. All of that's a determination. And so, in another season of my life, I was introduced to some different things, and I saw some different things in that season of my life. I saw how sound affects things. I saw how sound affects things, right? And so I came into the identification and the understanding that there were scientists that were using sound to create patterns with water and with sand and all of these different things. And so I began to hear the word frequency in my spirit. I began to hear the word frequency, right? And so here I am. I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking and I'm like, well, what's the frequency for what I'm dealing with? What's the frequency for pain? I'm asking these questions. And so now I'm on YouTube and I'm looking through things and I wind up at these sound things with the frequencies 432, and all of those things are real things. But here's the problem with certain things: these things that are placed in these positions or in these places are diabolically birthed. Okay, so there's something behind the sound that they're presenting. You understand what I'm saying? And so I turned it on for a moment. I'm listening. I'm like, mm-mm. I'm like, this ain't it. This ain't it. And so I'm sitting there. And as I'm sitting there, the Father is saying, I need you to exercise the thing that you just initiated. Exercise it. So I began to sit there and I began to worship and I began to speak to some things and I began to declare some things. And so the Father took me on a journey of the evening. The journey that he took me on of the evening took me back to the meeting. And I began to see the transpiring. Okay, what transpired in that place? I saw it. He showed it to me. I'm laying there and he literally showed me. Now, I'm going to go back to the top because when I first entered into the building, one of the things that I first noticed before I entered the building was that the doors were absolutely filthy, right? And so I pull in the door, but I'm like, and it's a public place, it's a city-owned building. I said, these doors are absolutely disgustingly dirty, you know. Why he took me back to that, I'll come back to that in a minute, but I'm just taking you through the process. I'm like, these doors are dirty. What is this I'm stepping into? What is this I'm walking into, right? So I walk in. So I told you the other woman fell. So he's showing me, he's taking me back through the process. He took me first to that my question was, what am I walking into? Right. And I said the doors were dirty. But he took me through this whole process. He showed me that this entity, this thing came into the door. The woman was in the path of the thing that came into the door and it knocked her down. That's how she fell. She fell 30 minutes roughly prior to me falling. But this was during the meeting. I fell down after the meeting. But the attempt was for me. The thing that came in, that entered in, was after me. It wasn't after her. She just was in the way. Okay, so I say that to say this. And Elder Vicky can attest to this as well, that when you're making a transition, that when you're doing something, just being in a vicinity, you have to be mindful of the vicinity that you're in. And you have, okay, not only do you have to be mindful of the vicinity, but let me clear this up. Let me say this. Because the enemy will do everything that he can to separate you from that which belongs to you, to separate you from what is rightfully your inheritance. He'll do everything to separate you from that. There were people that went through all kinds of things, just connecting, went through all kinds of things, right? And so the weaker, didn't understand that process. So they just thought to go run off and go hide or go run off and go back to whatever they were dealing with. Peter was a perfect example of this. He didn't understand the process that the master had gone through. He didn't understand all that they had to go through in that moment as the master went through that process of sacrifice. It was for him. And so the sacrifice, it kind of affected them, but he didn't understand how to stick to what he had been brought into. So he just ran back to what he knew. You understand what I'm saying? So you're going to be challenged, is what I'm telling you. You're going to be challenged when you step into the dimension of sonship that you've been called into. You're going to be challenged. The master was challenged when he was authenticated. I'm feeling a breeze here. When he was authenticated, mighty God, when he was authenticated as the Son of the living God, there was an authentication process, and that authentication process led him by the power of the Holy Ghost into the wilderness. Did you hear what I said? I'm telling you, it ain't what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. But the Father in this hour has given us a weapon, right? And so it's the same weapon that the master used when he was in the wilderness. He began to declare some things. His declaration was connected to what his father was saying. His declaration was connected to what his father was speaking concerning those specific matters. Okay, not only did he do what the Father had given him to do by way of the Holy Ghost, go into the wilderness, but when the time came for him to have something to say, he both said and spoke only what the Father only what the Father was speaking. And then he came out of that wilderness place in the power of the Spirit. One of the things I want to say to you tonight is that whatever the Father has called you to, whatever he's given you to do, first of all, you have to recognize that. First of all, you have to know that. And after you know that, not after you guessed at it, not after you've hit at it, but after you know it, it's something that you must do. The master told Peter, he said, once you've been converted, I need you to go and begin to strengthen and begin to convert and begin to transition other people into this way of life. You hear what I'm saying? So the purpose of you going through is not for you to just say, oh, I came out, but it's for you to go and to begin to have other people convert. It's for you to go and begin to share the testimony of what you've been given with other people that they. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now, because we're coming into a space where the Father is no longer going to allow you to go into spaces where people are not changing. Because helping others means not only that you drop the word, but depending on the level of relationship that you have with people, the level of response should be different. So there may be places that the Father just has you to go and plant seed, okay? Or go and water, right? Because the Father is ultimately the one that brings the increase. But there are times when you approach a situation based on who you become and you begin to speak to something. See, this is going to give you the difference between the religious of our day and those that are sons, those that are actually walking in the power and authority of sonship. Because the master, he doesn't just stand on the ship and say, peace be still. He is peace. You understand what I'm saying? So because he's become something, because he is something, he can declare it. And so what the Father is calling us into is the becoming of something, so that when we say a thing, it has to be. And so one of the reasons why the master, as he's approaching this fig tree and he sees leaves only, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people that think because it's leaves on the tree, something is happening. That they think that because it's leaves on the tree, that something is being satisfied. But I'm telling you that the master understood his authority and he understood his power. Because of the authority and power that he operated in, then when he was approaching, fruit should have been forming even outside of the season of fruiting. Fruit should have been forming, but there was something about this tree that was in remembrance of its heritage. And remembering the last time I was being approached by a man, it was to cover something up. So maybe I'll just stick at this place of leaves. Now, I'm talking from a place, that this parabolic place that I'm speaking from. You got to identify where you are in this. You got to identify what's going on around you. Maybe I'll just stay at the point of leaves, right? No. The master is approaching me. Divinity is approaching me. Something greater than me is approaching me, and I'll just stay a shade tree. I won't give any fruit. I won't bear anything more than what I've been bearing, because at least there's something on the branch. At least there's green on the branch. I'm not just a bare vine. I'm not just a bare limb. I'm not a bald limb. I've got leaves. But the Father is saying, in this season, there's more than leaves that he's looking for. He's looking for us to bear fruit. And it doesn't even have to be the season of fruiting for him, because if you recognize and you step out of the dimension of chronos, if you step out of the time that binds man and step into the divine chronos of God, then there is no time limitation. There's a limitless space there. That's a limitless place. That's why he can redeem the time. Come on now. That's why he can redeem the time for us, because we've stepped out of the thing where we're confined by it and stepped into the place where we're no longer defined by it. You've been confined to it, but the Father wants to bring you into a space where you're no longer defined by it. My God, it's the sonship dimension. And kinetic prayer has everything to do with the sonship dimension, because only a son can identify. And I want you to look at the might and the strength of our God, that this thing that he's speaking about, this kinetic prayer dimension, it's not just something that I'm doing. I'm not saying that I don't know of who else is doing it. I've not seen what I'm doing, but I'm not too ignorant. I'm not so ignorant to believe that the Father, when he desires something for his sons, that he doesn't do this in every space, that he's not going over into Saudi Arabia and raising somebody up to do this, that he's not going over into Africa and raising somebody up to do this, that somebody's not in Germany right now that's being raised. It may not be called kinetic prayer. It may be called something else, but the dimensions, the lift, the width, and the breadth and the depth are the same. You understand what I'm saying? So this is a place that he's calling sons into. I just happen to be the messenger for you. Where we are, I just happen to be the messenger for you to bring you into this space, to bring you into this place. So I want to go back to something, because there are offers on the table. The question is, what offer are you taking in this hour? Are you continuing to take the offer that pulls you back into the lesser position? Or are you going to take the offer that the Father is giving to become the sons? Now, you got to understand that there's some things, some weight that goes with that. But we're going to talk about the weight, because that weight is invaluable when it comes to kinetic prayer, because it's the weight that's on the object, right? That when that object becomes motioned, when it begins to take on motion, when it begins to pick up momentum, this is the kinetic part of it, that whatever it comes into contact with, the impact upon impact, it transfers its power to something else. And this is the thing that the Father is calling us to. He's saying, listen, I need you to understand this prayer dimension differently. Now I lay me down to sleep might have been where you started, but it can't be where you end. You understand what I'm saying? Because we've done some things in our ignorance, and the Father winked at it. He was like, oh, just, they're growing. It's not a big deal. So I don't want you to think that because you did something in another season and you think it worked. Notice I said you think it worked. No, he's just so loving and he's just so merciful that he understands what you're trying to get to. He understands what you're trying to accomplish, but you can't stop at that and make that an idol and make that an altar. You have to now leave that place and move on into the next space. You have to move into maturity as a son. A baby, while they are growing, they go through all these different stages of growth. The training wheels are for, I'm going to go past the baby stage. As a child, the training wheels are for when you're first learning to do something. I look at the beginning prayer lines. They took on different dimensions in different seasons, right? But one of the things that he had me doing from the beginning was scripture was connected. Scripture was connected to that prayer line. We were reading passages, and then we would pray into the passage. There were particular passages that he had us reading, and then we would pray into it. Do you know in this season, he said, that's good. He said, but that was a trainer. That was tutelage. That was governorship. That was me teaching the people how to be governed by the word. He said, but now I need people to be able to hear me, to understand that I'll give you a word and I need you to pray into that. I'll give you a phrase and I need you to pray into that. I need you to go and seek it out, dig it up. You know what I'm saying? I need you to dig it out, search it out, open up those wells. And then I need you to pray into that thing. But it's because you know something that you're praying into it, not because you're trying to find something, but because you found something. And now you understand the value that it has. So you're praying into the space that I've given you, right? That I've given you just in a word or a phrase, that I've given you just in a picture. You understand what I'm saying? So there's an advancement even in that. Far be it from me to go back into this thing under the same impression. And this is what just disturbs me about the 21st century church. This disturbs me about 21st century ministry, is that the masses, not everybody, but the masses are so stuck in what they did that they can't come into what you're doing, what he's doing. You understand what I'm saying? They're so stuck in what they did. They can't come into what he's doing. Oh my God, people are trying to go back to old movements. They're trying to go back to stuff that has already taken its course, it's already played its part. Whether it was diabolic or divine, we're not going to converse on those matters tonight, right? But they're trying to go back to movements instead of becoming the movement for this hour. Instead of identifying and seeking him for the movement, for the momentum, for the velocity, for the strength, for all of that in this hour, they're looking to go find it from somewhere else. They're looking for it outside of them when they don't understand that the treasure is hidden in the earthen vessel. And the earthen vessels of this age have a different treasure. It's about greater works for us. It's not about the old work. It's about the greater work for us. Mm-mm-mm. My God, you're an awesome God. I just got to take a minute. I got to take a moment. I got to take a moment. I have to take a moment. I have to take a moment and just pause for the cause. It's so much, so much. This is just kind of like our icebreaker. This is kind of just our introduction. This is just taking us into a space. Some foundation has to be laid so that we understand what it is we're being called to. What it is. It's inside of us, Elder. Elder, it's inside of you. It's inside of you. Absolutely. It's inside. What the Father is desiring to do with you is not outside of you, it's inside of you. And it's going to take digging. And sometimes that digging happens because he sends people to you to dig it out. You know, Moshe was sent back to Egypt. Why? Because he had to help them dig out their freedom. He had to help them dig out their royalty. He had to help them dig out that they were a chosen people, right? And at some point, the Father wanted to make all of them priests, but they couldn't understand, they couldn't comprehend it. So he had to put priests in place. You understand what I'm saying? Mighty God. You are awesome, God. You are awesome. God of power, Lord of glory. You are awesome. You're awesome. I got a question for you. When you're seated, do you just get up for no reason? What do you get up for? I know this sounds like a strange question, but I'm going to finish prefacing the question. When you're lying down, why do you get up and out of your bed? Why do you do that? Why don't you just stay seated in a chair? And why don't you just stay in the laying position? You know why? Because there's something that you have to do. You got to get up because something has to be done that can't be done if you remain in that position. Are you listening to me? So that means you're aware of something. You realize something. And upon your realization, you have to go to actualize this thing, right? When you're seated, when you're laying down, you get up. You don't just, it's not just a random thing. There's purpose in you rising. There's purpose in you getting up out of a laying down position. You got to do something. Isaiah 60 talks about the rise and the shine, right? You can't rise though. You can't rise and shine if you reject or don't know the illumination. If you don't understand the illumination or you reject the illumination. He said you can't get up or awaken. The rise is get up, wake up. Are you understand what I'm saying? Get up, wake up. Shine means be visible. Don't be obscure. There is a time that the Father calls for his sons to awaken, to get up, to awaken and be visible, not obscure. Okay? Because illumination, light, that illumination deals with revelation. It deals with an unveiling of something that's been hidden. You understand what I'm saying? It's come. But you cannot reject the illumination. You can't say, I want different, but keep going back to the darkness. You have to step into the light in order to actualize what the Father is calling you to. He said, rise. He said, get up, awaken, shine. Listen, don't be obscure. Don't hide yourself. Be visible. It's something that he's calling his sons to in this season. This is not contrary to popular belief. If you run into any true apostle or authentic apostle, lives are not what we like, but it's the order of the day. When we are in an age where we can get online and reach thousands of people and reach people all over the world, we don't have to go back. We don't have to go to the old way. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't gather. We can gather in the various regions when we're in the regions. We can do that. But this right here, this is a tool. This is a weapon. But it's not something that true leaders really love. We don't, I know this sounds selfish, but for the sake of not sounding selfish, I do my best not to. But I really enjoy my space. I really enjoy my intimate time with my Father. I really enjoy the intimacy that we have. I really enjoy the intimacy that we have. I mean, just thinking about the intimacy is bringing water to my eyes. I enjoy the intimacy. I enjoy the fact that he trusted me with his secrets. And I enjoy the fact that I can trust him with mine. I enjoy that. So this is not a place that we run to. We don't run here. We don't run to this place to begin to share the secrets. It has to be something that he's authorizing. It has to be something that he's desiring for people to know. You understand what I'm saying? He does nothing in the earth. So actually, when he's beginning to share the secret, it's something that he wants to do, but he may not want to do it in that moment. So it's something that we have to personally process to make a revelation, not just a conversation, but to make it our revelation. You understand what I'm saying? Something that's revealed that we can begin to then share with others upon the appointed time. But you get up from that place. You rise from that place because you recognize that there's a purpose that has to be actualized. The purpose of who you are is not out in the ether somewhere. It must be unearthed, though. It's got to be. It's got to be unearthed. And I'm telling you that it's a treasure in you. And all of creation is in expectation of it. This is the necessity for kinetic prayer because sons understand the way of creation. We understand the way of creation because the Father showed it to us. He told it to us. He exemplified it, and he had the conversation with us. He showed us. He gave us the playbook. He said, listen, what I recreated, and I say recreated, right? Because this is recreation for a God, right? You're going to understand my words in a moment. It's recreation for a God to put things in order to create something. That's recreation. You understand what I'm saying? But he does something before he says something. And that's the very foundation of kinetic prayer. It takes us back to what the Father originally showed us, how to operate in the earth. You identify it, right? And then you go to it, and then you address it. So it's a movement that has to happen in order for the words to even have meaning. There's a dominance, there's a dominion that has to be taken over a space. I'm going to say this to you, and it's just going, for religious people, it's going to wild them out. The Father told me to tell this to someone about a week ago. Kinetic prayer is likened unto sons, like spells are likened unto witches. I know that it sounds strange, but it's real because witches are real serious about their spells because they understand the power of the spell. You understand what I'm saying? Especially if it has a place to land. They understand the power of the spell, right? So sons should equally be as convinced of the kinetic nature of what they say, because they understand that they're an object that has weight, that is now in motion, and now it has a point of contact, and that point of contact is going to release the power or the energy from it to that thing for something to happen. I don't know if you're getting this tonight. May God give you understanding. May He give you clarity of what I'm speaking tonight. I'm gonna lay a little bit more foundation, and then we're gonna share. We're gonna share. A boy named after his father is called Junior, right? Right? If y'all with me, are you with me? I see it's other people in the room, but they're not saying anything, and that's okay. A boy named after his father is called a junior. The first boy is called a junior. So there's a Bob Senior and a Bob Junior, but both are what? They're Bobs, right? Both are Bobs. Okay, Bob Senior, Bob Junior, and both are Bobs, right? There's a president and there's a vice president, but both are what? Can y'all put it in the chat? But both are what? I'm taking you somewhere. Both are what, though? President and vice president. One is second in command to the president. That's the vice. But both are what? Anybody? I'm waiting on you guys to put it in the chat. Presidents. Thank you. Both are presidents. But there is a first chair and a second chair, right? Okay. Check this out. We call the sons of demons demon spawns, right? We call them sons of demons. You heard the term son of the devil, right? That means that there's a devil and there's a son of, but they're both what? They're both what? I'll wait, because I know it's a little bit of a delay. They are both devils. That's it. A demon spawn is simply the spawn of or the son of a demon, but they are both demons. But isn't it funny that when we deal with spiritual things as it pertains to deity, as it pertains to divinity, as it pertains to the sons of God, somehow we struggle with a concept that a son of God makes us a what? Everybody ain't ready for this conversation. I'm telling you, you've been living way beneath your privilege. Son of God implies, it's an implication that you are a what? Period. A God. This is the reason they wanted to murder the master. This was the thing that they utilized to take it all the way there. They already had their sights set on him. They already wanted to do it. But when he said, I am the Son of God, they were disturbed by that, because they were not ignorant like 21st century westernized cultured people who can understand all of those things, that a vice president that a president has a vice and they're both presidents, that a senior has a junior but they're both Bobs, right? That a demon has a demon spawn but they're both demons, that a son of the devil is simply a devil. They understood that concept. Only in this age has the eyes of mankind been so darkened that we don't understand our rightful place and what the Father has actually called us to. Now to God, in the space that you would exalt yourself above the Most High God, but it's the intrinsic nature of who you are. It's the intrinsic nature of how you were created. Yet we continue to live beneath that space. Now I got to go back to this foot thing, right? Because I'm good. I had to wait it out today. I know people wanted me to kind of move around and do some stuff, but I did not, because even though he has healed me quickly, I'm mindful and I'm not ignorant to step out into something and begin to bring myself damage when I'm mending. You understand what I'm saying? So why would I take my mending as an occasion to bring injury to myself? No, I'm going to allow myself to finish processing. I still feel a little tension. I'm able to stand on my tiptoes. I'm able to do a bunch of stuff. Last 2 days I've been able to do some things. Today was the first time I put a shoe on again. Of course, it was a flip flop, but I did not like that rubbing of the shoe that was happening on my foot. So I took it off. I'm not ready for the shoe yet. Right? That means be still and finish what I've given you to do. Be still and do what I've called you to. Don't worry about everything else. Everything else will work itself out. Be still and accomplish, because this was the thing that was supposed to keep you from accomplishing it, right? But now that you're sitting, now that you're in this space, I walk around, I go to the bathroom, I go to the kitchen, fix me something to eat. I can walk and I can walk well, but I still feel the pressure. And I'm not going outside with a sock on. I'm not going outside with a bare foot and a shoe on the other foot. I'm going to sit right here. And there's something in this space for me in this season. There's something that the Father wants to do. And he began to do this work. It reminded me of when he called me to the apostleship. It reminded me of the encounter that I had with him before I was affirmed as an apostle. That first encounter that I had, it was an encounter that I'm not even going to take the time to describe today. But that's what I've been sensing in this moment, in this season. It's been something that I've been kind of leading up to. I felt it. I've kind of gone in and out of this space, in and out of this feeling. But I'm telling you, something is shifting. Something is changing concerning the sons. Something is happening, y'all. And I don't know if you can feel it the way that I'm feeling it, but something is happening. And I said this in another season, and Elder Vicky can identify with this. There was a season, I'm going back into that space again, Elder, but beyond that space, there was another season in my life where when I would be preaching, I'd be teaching, I'd be praying online, and I would tell people, literally, I had to have this conversation with them. And I told them, and I know for some people, this might sound a little bit different, but I told them, I said, look, y'all, I really feel like I am molecularly unraveling right now. Like, seriously. And I'm telling you now that if anything happens and I disappear from in front of the camera, I'll be back. I'm not going because I got work to do. So he's not taking me out of the earth. I've got work to do. I literally felt this. And I've literally had encounters where people have been in a space with me and could not find me. They could not see me, yet they were in the room. They were in a space. I'm telling you, the Father's doing something. He's doing something different with his sons. And we've got to allow ourselves to step into this space, because it has everything to do with us taking the fight to darkness, not just waiting on it. See, we are very familiar. The church is very familiar. What they call spiritual warfare is not taking the fight to darkness. It's responding to a fight. It's responding to being accosted. That's what they call spiritual warfare. But I'm telling you that the definition of spiritual warfare is to wage warfare against your enemy, not to respond to him waging warfare against you, but to take the fight to him. That's what happened with me. When I began to sit and do some of the things that the Father's telling me to do in this season, and I'll tell you some more about some of the other things that are happening that people have been waiting for, I promise you, I took the fight to him. I began to have these conversations, having certain conversations with people that no longer was putting a veil on me like Moshe. I wasn't putting the veil on. I was saying, no, this is what it is. This is what it is. This is who I am. This is where we are. Okay? And that enemy said, oh, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. Mm-mm. No, she didn't. Yes, I did. I'm telling you, you've got to get curious. I know curiosity is often used as a negative, but it's not a negative thing at all. It just simply means inquiry. And I'm going to give you guys some definitions of some things, some definitions on Wednesday. I want to kind of just stay in this flow right now because I'm laying foundation. But one of the things that the Father began to share with me, trying to see if my book was here. One of the things that he began to share with me regarding prayer was the nature of inquiry. You know, a lot of times people are just praying to say, or they are praying to be heard by God. But I'm telling you, there is the word that he kept talking to me about was elementary. The difference between elementary and the college level, and then the doctorate level, and then the master's level. You know, that people are stuck in an elementary level of God. They don't have a revelation of him. They're stuck in an elementary level of him. Matter of fact, not only are they stuck in an elementary version of him, but they're stuck in an elementary version of him that they created. Hmm, I know. You got to get curious enough to seek. See, the curiosity, he told me, he said, the curiosity is to inquire, to identify a way, to identify a thing. The inquiry is the fact that there a thing? Is what is it? Is there a thing there? But the seek is different, because the seek means that you've identified that there is something. You found something, and now you're desiring to always know where it is to be found. This is why the Father says, "Seek me while I may be found." You know why you're seeking, because you recognize he's to be found. You recognize that you have located something. You have your sights on something. That's when the seek comes in, right? But he said that my people got to go from curiosity, that inquiry place, to the seeking place. That means they found something and now they're desirous to continue to find it, to sanctuary, to a habitable place, a sanctuary place, right? Where it's sanctified and it's a place of fellowship, right? What is established from what you found. This is an establishment based on my findings. This is the body of something. This is, uh, mm, that word search, or that term sanctuary tonight, might be interchanged with altar. You're going to establish something's established now. There's an altar there. There's something, I want you to know that there's something written on the table of the hearts of men. And all of the seek is about trying to find a way to decode the writing that's on their heart. So when you look at the curiosity of men, and they're inquiring in all sorts of spaces and places, and when I say this, I'm not just speaking of the ignorant who operate in curious arts outside of the church. I'm speaking of those that operate in religious things, in religious places, in spiritual places that are connected to the word of Yah, but they're operating in various crafts and curious arts in connection to the word. Are you listening to what I'm saying? This seek that people are on, this seek that people are having, is because there's something written on the table of their heart, and they're trying to decode it on their own. This is why they're all over the place, because they're trying to decode it on their own. Their curiosity is not causing them to seek him. It's causing them to go seek it in the soothsayer, to go seek it in the tarot card reader, to go seek it in the diviner, to go seek it, right? This is why witches are witches, because they're seeking something. They were seeking power, and they didn't understand that power belongs to Yah. And so because they don't understand that power belongs to him, then they're seeking the lesser power in an alternate deity. You understand what I'm saying? Hmm. I want you to know there are a couple of words that stood out to me today as the Father was talking to me, as he was speaking to me. There were words that stood out. Curiosity was one of them. Seek was another. Sanctuary was another. But he began to talk about this word transposition. Mm, transposition. This word came up. He just kept talking about transposition. And I want you to know that the adversary of your destiny desires to sift you. This is the word that the master gave to Peter. He said, Satan desires to sift you as wheat. The accuser desires to sift you. But there is a divine transposition coming to the sons of Yah. And I'm looking at the potential of the thing all around me in this hour. I see it in people everywhere. this potential of God. And I want you to understand that the opposite of kinetic is potential. The opposite of kinetic authority, kinetic power, is potential authority. That means there is an object and it has a form, but it's not in motion. It's potential. It has potential, but it needs to be in motion in order to create the transfer. Look at this transpositioning. I'm looking at this potential in so many people around me. Okay? I already kind of started going in this direction, but I'm not going to stay here long. But I want to remind you in this moment that the Father hovered over the waters and then he began to say something. He was in movement. There was a movement. There was something that he had in his mind. And then he began to actually go to that space, to move over it, to hover over it by spirit. He hovered over it. And then he began to speak to it. Okay. But I'm not going to go there tonight. Not tonight. I'm not going to stay there. I'm not going to stay there. I want to deal with this word transposition real quick. We got a lot of trans words in this season. And I want you to understand that this is a direct attempt of darkness to mimic the Father. This is a mimic cry, okay? It's a time of mimicry for him, okay? Transposition. Let's look at some definitions of transposition. To reverse or transfer the order or place of. Are y'all hearing me? Listen. To reverse or transfer the order of or place of. The order of or the place of something. To reverse or transfer the order or place of. It's an interchange. It's a reversal. Transposition is about a reversal. Hear what I'm saying to you. The tables are turning. I'm telling you. The tables are turning. Right in our midst. The tables are turning. As I am declaring this to you, the tables have already began to turn. You're going to find, as sons of God, I'm not talking to everybody. This word is for manifesting ones. This word is not for people that'll just come on to this video if I leave it up. This word is not just for, this is not just an everybody word. This is specifically for sons of manifestation. This is for the sons of Yah. Okay? It's a reversal coming. It's a divine reversal. And you've potentially been seeing some things around you recently that would lend themselves to this fact that there's a divine reversal that's taking place. In mathematics, it means to move a term from one side of an algebraic equation to the other side, reversing its sign to maintain equality. Okay, so I'm going to give you a better one of that because I love how this reads it. Okay. To bring a term from one side of an algebraic equation to the other with corresponding change of sign. You understand that now? So it's a changing, it's a reversal. You bring the term from one side of the algebraic to the other side, and there's a sign there that has been brought to the other side because now the sign represents the side that has been brought. Okay, y'all with me? In music, transposition is to write or perform a composition in a key other than the original or given key. I told you, you've been living beneath your inheritance. You've been living beneath your right as a son of God, which makes you a God. You've been living beneath that privilege. And so now you're going to play in another key. Now you've been transposed to another frequency because there's a resonance that happens with notes when notes play. The lower the frequency, right? The further away the notes are, but the higher the frequency, the closer they are together. It's more penetrable. That's why somebody can sing a very high note. You've seen this before. Sing a very high pitched note and break a glass because it's a penetrable sound that the Father is after in the sons right now. He's changing the key that you operate from as he blows through you, as he makes you his instrument. The sound that's coming from you, the sound that's going to be coming from you in this hour is going to be a penetrable sound. The key of you is changing. Somebody put in the room, the key of me is changing. Huh? The key of me. You didn't know you were a song in the earth. You didn't know that you were a song in the earth, that you were an instrument in the earth to be played with other instruments in harmony and in unison. Mm, I'm a song in the earth. Somebody write it down. I'm a song. My key is changing. I'm a song in the earth. My song is changing. Mm, 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 mm. Mighty God. I'll wait for y'all because I know it's a delay. I'll wait though. I'll wait. Eh, My God. 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're up doing what? Waging war. Do you know that light weakens darkness? That light is darkness's weakness. Whenever something is exposed, it's weakened. That even happens in relationships. And I don't know why I'm going here, but this is why the Father says you don't just give everything up front when you're entering into relationships. I don't care if they're intimate or if they are business or whatever it is. You can't give everything up front. Why? Because you got to see where other people are. You got to be able to identify where they are, right? And so if you begin to give them things now, then it'll be ammunition later, right? You don't give them a way to operate, to operate against you. You got to find out where they are so that you can meet them where they are. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. Did y'all put in I'm a song? I'm a whole song in the earth. I'm a whole song. I'm a whole song. Listen. Mm, mm, mm. I'm a whole song. And my key is changing. My key is changing. Listen. Here's another thing. To render into another language, transpose. Take it from one thing into another. To alter, inform, or the nature of. To transform. Another word for transposition is transformation. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. To transfer or to transport. Remember, we were talking about something in motion, right? Transposition. Hmm. Let's talk about the trans factors for a moment. Because, we're constantly being dumbed down. It's so amazing what the Father had me looking at and paying attention to over the last couple of days. It's just amazing how it all just kind of converged. It just all came into a place of convergence. But there's a constant dumbing down. We talk about frequencies, right? Frequencies are being used as a weapon against humanity. Why is kinetic prayer so important? Because if we are in the proper alignment, if we're in the proper space, then we are under the proper frequency. We will resonate properly. We'll resonate properly because all kinds of things are being used against humanity. Are you understanding what I'm saying? All kinds of frequencies are being used against humanity. You're wondering why all of a sudden your face is itching, why your arms are itching. I'm not having those issues, but I'm staying in a proper frequency. You got to stay in alignment with the frequency of God as a son of God. Don't lose your God frequency to lower yourself to serve something else, because that's when you're going to be exposed to the things that are coming into the earth that are a part of these trumpets. I know we like to think that darkness is just doing these things on its own. No, hell is for hire, honey. Hell is for hire. Okay. And it doesn't just get to do what it does without authorization. I mean, if you go back to the garden, if you think about this, had Adam maintained his position, then that adversary that was in the garden that was trying to bring him into a captive place would have become his captive. But he didn't do that. So who do you think does the bidding when the Father's vengeance or his wrath is poured out? Who do you think does that? Who do you think executes that wrath? Hmm? You got to think about these things. You know, we got to think. You remember this? This is a verse that a lot of people love to use. They love this. They love this. I'll restore the years, right? That the palmer worm and caterpillar and the canker worm. Okay, so you go through all that process. That's about redeeming the time and restoring the years, right? Okay, he wants to restore the years, but what you got to understand as a manifesting son, what you got to understand as a son of maturity that's coming to kinetic sonship, you got to understand that it's the mighty army that he sent. Don't nobody want to talk about that. He said that mighty army that I sent. Wait a minute. He sent the palmer worm. He sent the locust. He sent the caterpillar. He sent that to devour our stuff. He said, I sent it. But I want to be a God to you, and I want you to be my people. I'll restore you. My reason for restoring you is that by now you've identified who I am. By now you understand that you need me. By now you understand who I've made you in the earth, and now you're wanting to come into alignment with that by now. But no. Mm-mm. Frequencies are being used. This is like, I've been saying it for the longest. We are actually in real time living in the age that was like Noah's age. Well, what was happening in Noah's day? I think a lot of people skip over this. What was happening in his day was that all of creation had been modified, had been infiltrated, had been contaminated. With what though? We think these things that people are doing on the earth right now are new. This is old diabolic technology. It's old technology to infiltrate mankind, because if I can contaminate the structure of who you are, if I can cause you to forget who you are, then I can operate the way I need to operate. This is darkness talking. Darkness thinks that if I can bring you to a place that's lower than your God status, then I'll be God over you, right? My systems will resonate over you, and you'll only move at the frequency that I declare concerning your life. You got to know this, that the Father's thoughts toward us are of good and not of evil, to give us an expected end, a good and expected end. But you have an adversary whose thoughts are not that. His thoughts are not that. So on every front, there is an attempt to alter the frequency, the God frequency of man. I remember the conversation. This was at least 15 to 18 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe, when they first started talking about this God gene and how science was attempting to try to get this God gene. Well, they began to say that the reason why they wanted to access this God gene, you know that mankind doesn't know a thing as a God gene. That's information from somewhere else, and we'll get to that. Somewhere else is giving information to the setup of man, right? And so then wicked man in a wicked condition, begins to listen to the information, like Adam in the garden, right? Of this diabolic entity, to begin to probe into and to identify with and to seek after and to inquire after, right? A thing that is not what the Father desired for mankind, right? So they're getting these diabolic conversations, right? And this is not new. They were messing with DNA back in the day. The Father declared in the word that he left us, he allowed the conversation to be had with us, that things were contaminated, that everything had been compromised. Well, how do you compromise something? You go to the root of how it is created. You deal with the foundation of it. In order to contaminate it, you got to interrupt, you got to interject something, you got to infuse something into the system in order for it to be changed, right? So this is not a new concept. They've been doing this for years. But this God gene, they begin to talk about the God gene and say, oh, well, we're doing this because we want to root out insurgents. We want to root out uh, terrorist groups, and we want to root out this or that, right? No, that's not what they were trying to root out. Let me show you. One of my favorite movies, and I understand why it's one of my favorites, is the series, the Divergent series. Go watch that. Between now and Wednesday, I want you to go watch it. It's going to really push you into a place. But why this is one of my favorites is because the adversary tells us through film, through television, through music, through all kinds of avenues, through religion. He tells us through all kinds of avenues what his plan is and what he's really up to and what he's really after. In the movie Divergent, they were after those that were called divergents. Now, what are divergents? Let's look at it real quick. Let's pull up the definition of a divergent. Let's pull it up. I want you to see this. Divergent. What does this mean? Um, let's pull it up. Divergent. Of course, when you put that in the search engine, that's going to come up first, but we want to define divergent. Okay. Of course, you probably already have some things in your mind based on some of the things I've already told you. So you kind of have a little bit of a definition in your head, but a divergent is tending to be different or develop in different directions. You hear that? What does it mean to be divergent? It means to be differing from another thing, differing from a standard. Okay. What were they looking for? They were looking to root out the divergence, those that were different from the standard that they had set up, those that were not adherent or coherent with their standard, those that were opposite of, that would stand in opposition to their standard. You listen to this. So I'm watching this movie and I'm looking at these different things. So, there's like 3 or 4 of them. I think it's 3. It's Divergent, and then there is, I think, Insurgents, and then there is, what's the other one? I got it here somewhere. Allegiant. Okay. Why are these so important? Because what the Father is looking for is an insurgence. He's looking for sons that are ready to go to war. He's looking for sons that are not on just the offense, but they understand the necessity that war precipitates defense and offense. It's not just a one-sided thing. We've been taught to be on the offense. In other words, or on, after, I'm sorry, the defense. After something happens to us, then we kind of defend. We kind of, no, but war is about offense and defense. It's about the strategy and the execution. It's about keeping the enemy from infiltrating or penetrating, and also penetrating and taking territory. You understand what I'm saying? This is what kinetic prayer is about. It's about you, the object, in motion and saying something. Then I come to this movie today. My daughter mentioned something to me. And, I'm not a TV person, although I love good writing, right? And I have been a series person before when it came to TV. But my daughter mentioned something to me today. I really felt impressed. I was like, I got to see what that is, because it was regarding something that I had spoken many, many years ago about them preparing to, we already have been ushered into this age, right? But the ushering into the age of drugs, the ushering into the age of pharmakia. Okay, those that are here understand what that is. The ushering into that age of pharmakia for these minor things was about the big thing that they were after. Got to understand the patience of diabolic nature. It's patient. It'll take thousands of years to accomplish a goal. You understand what I'm saying? So this whole pushing us into the pharmaceutical, the pharmakia age, right? Where we pop a pill when we feel pain. We don't want to deal with the pain. We want to just not deal with the pain. We don't want to deal with the reason for the pain. We just don't want to deal with the pain. We want to mask the symptom and not deal with the root or the cause, right? And so they've already been ushering us into this space. All right, as humankind, they've already been ushering us into this space. So now it's not going to be very difficult for people to understand, oh, I can take a pill and get my sight back, or I can take a pill and be smarter than everybody in the room. I can take a pill and be stronger than everybody. I'm telling you, we've already been ushered into this thing, but it's going into a larger scale now. So my daughter shared with me this movie called Limitless, another really good movie. I'm not on staff. They're not giving me any money for me to promote this. Uh, just go and watch it. And I'm telling you, you're going to see everything about where we're living right now, the factions. And the factions for me is not just what is happening in the earth, but what's happening in spiritual society. We got all these damnable denominations, all of this separation, all of these factions, right? And none of it is functioning according to the kingdom. None of it is functioning according to what the king has designated the function to be. Mm. Limitless was a reference to a man who was a writer, and he just was at his lowest point, right? And in that lowest point, he was introduced to this drug or this pill that unlocks 100% of your brain. Can I tell you something? 100% of the brain capacity. My problem is not brain capacity right now. My problem is that I don't have, let me say this right. It's tools. Having the tools that help me facilitate the capacity to which my brain functions. That would mean even my connections. Okay. My biggest issue has really never been brain capacity, because as soon as one thought comes out, here comes another behind it. As soon as one vision comes forth, here comes another behind it. As soon as one book idea comes out, here comes another. And, brain capacity is not my issue. It's not my issue. The strongest attack that I've had is not being able to be in spaces with people of a like mind that can assimilate what I'm saying to help actualize it, if that makes sense. Um, so capacity ain't really a problem for mankind. And away with this idea that there's going to be some kind of sentience behind artificial intelligence, and human intelligence will forever supersede that, right? And the artificial is in need of the authentic in order to have an impression or in order to have an idea. That artificial must first come from that is not artificial. It must come from the authentic. I don't know where y'all went, but this thing it ain't showing comments. Maybe y'all just listening. But this man took this pill and it took him into a whole space. He wasn't able to write in a matter of 4 days. He was able to finish and complete his book. And I'm telling you that pill, that energy, that place that we need to go to is in this kinetic prayer, because it's going to begin to break the boundaries and break the barriers that have been established in the life of the believer to keep him and her from going to that place that was destined. But that requires something. And Pastor Holiday can attest to this. We were on the line the other day, and the Father began to share something with me, and this is going to become a real thing for us. Any group of leaders or group of believers that I come into contact with, this is going to be a thing for us, because it's something about taking up arms against the adversary, not just against your adversary, but against the adversary of someone else. Can you see the adversary of your neighbor? Can you see the adversary of your brother or your sister? To take up arms against that thing, to even express it to them. Because one of the things that darkness has been having a heyday in is the fact that it's been cloaked in a secrecy. It's been veiled by something. And so because it's veiled, then people can just operate from a place and as if this thing is not there, right? But when we begin to unveil that thing, and we begin to speak to and take up arms concerning our brethren, then that thing is exposed. And when it becomes exposed, it's weakened in the life of the believer. And so we've got to take up arms for the brethren and the sisters in this season as it pertains to the things that concern them. You understand what I'm saying? Find yourself in a position where you are taking up arms. It's a thing that happened with the children of Israel. the tribe of Reuben and the half tribe of Manasseh, they wanted to stay on the other side of the Jordan. But even in them being given clearance for that, there was a prerequisite for them to be able to do that. And that prerequisite was, okay, you can have that side, but what you're going to have to do first is take up arms concerning your brother. And you got to help your brethren get into their place, help them get into their possession. Are you listening to what I'm saying? This is a part of the kinetic way of life. We have to recognize what's happening around the brethren. We have to recognize what's happening with our brothers, with our sisters, to take up arms against that thing. And taking up arms doesn't just mean praying. It means becoming an active part of something. Let me bring you back to the master's conversation with Peter. He said, Peter, Satan desires to sift you as wheat, but I prayed for you. That word pray there does not just mean I said words. It means I am in direct opposition to the thing that's in opposition to you. I've already done some things, and I'm going to perform some things on behalf of you so that this thing does not have any more opportunity to put you in a position that is opposite of me. You're going to come into alignment with who I am so that you can become the thing that I am and walk in this way and have fellowship with the Father like you need to have fellowship, because I'm restoring that connection for you. I'm restoring that connection for you. That word prayer is not just a word that says, I'm praying for you. No, it's an active thing. It means that you have taken up arms against an adversary in the spirit. You've identified it, you've cited it, and now you're getting ready to take up arms against it. He took the pill, honey. We got a lot of movies about the pill, right? Red, blue, the pill, the red pill, the blue pill, right? Lots of movies about the pill. But this pill, he took it, and it changed him into another man. And that's what the Holy Spirit wants to do with sons. Now are you become the sons. You understand that becoming the son is simply a matter of you seeing him. And how do you see him? You begin to honor where he is and who he's in. You begin to honor what he's doing in you. You see him. You begin to honor what he's doing in nature around you. You begin to honor what he's speaking through just simple things, through colors, through a movie, through anything. He could be speaking through anything, but you begin to honor that. And as you see him, you're becoming. You're becoming. The kinetic prayer dimension is an answer to sonship identity. I'm going to turn y'all loose in a minute. It's an answer to sonship identity. It's a response to the call of all creation. The wait for manifesting ones to rise to the occasion of the doings of Yah and the sayings and the speaking of Yah. Kinetic prayer is a prayer which has left its potential form and is now in aggressive momentum, because it's not just spoken word, it's word coupled with divinely directed action. This is what kinetic prayer is. The momentum causing it to come into contact with other objects in a transfer of power. This is what kinetic prayer is about. It's not just a word force, void of the presence of a workforce. Why could the master do certain things that the disciples couldn't do? It wasn't just about the words being not present or the words not being present, okay? But there was no weight in their words. So we can have a million prayer lines, but if there's no weight in the words of the people, and the only way the weight can be in the words if the weight is in the people, and where the weight comes from, WEIGHT, is from fellowship, from communion, from relationship, intimate relationship with the Father is where weight comes from. That's where it comes from. It's got to be weight. Effectual and fervent prayer doesn't happen because you huffed and puffed and acted like you was going to blow the house down. It happens because there's weight with you. There's weight with you. You hear me? The angel Gabriel says to Daniel, I have come for your words. But remember, I talked to you about the workforce and the workforce. They've got to be aligned. Let's look at Daniel's life force because it is a direct result of the word and workforce that he employs. What is his life force? His life force is about him doing the will of his father. His life force is not about succumbing to the systems of the age. His life force is about no matter what's going on, I am allegiant to one God only. And because of that life force, because he is allegiant to his God and his God only, people around him, he can transfer that thing. You remember when the king threw him in the lion's den, he didn't want to do it, but he had an edict. He made an edict. And because he's a king, it could not be rescinded. So he had to throw him in there. But before he threw him in there, he said, may your God save you. Like, I'm expecting something. And when he went to call his name, Daniel, are you good? Did your God deliver you? That's because Daniel put in the work. He defied the laws of the time. He defied that edict that was sent out not to pray to any other God but to Nebuchadnezzar, to the statue. He defied that. He said, oh, no, not me. He defied the king's table and the king's meat. He said, oh, no, not me. All the rest of those sons, those Hebrews, were eating at the king's table. But those four boys, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they refused the king's meat. And this is what caused them advancement because they were doing something a certain way. And because they were doing the life, they were speaking the life. It was that workforce and that word force that created a life for them. I got a question for you because I'm about to turn y'all loose. How long are we going to be out here doing stuff without results? How long? Why are we okay? We're doing a bunch and getting no results. Why have we reduced the Father to can he hear me? Is he responding? No, the question is not is he responding? The question is, are you receiving the thing that he responds to? Are you in receipt of what he responds to? Is that a possession of yours? Because when we talk about a heat-seeking missile, it's the heat-seeking missile has a coordinate. It has a place that it affixes to. And once it is affixed to that place, that's where it goes. So how long? How long are we going to be out here doing stuff? Doing ministry, doing prayer lines, doing conferences, doing all of this stuff, doing gatherings and doing glee clubs. I'm calling them glee clubs because they're clubs. I'm looking for the other word, fellowships and all. How long are we going to do these things under the guides of the world systems, the systems of this world? Okay, well, you say, well, it's not the systems of the world because it's church. Here's the definition of world systems. Anything that opposes the king's system is a world system. Just so you know. Anything that opposes the king's system is a world system. That would include what goes on under the guides of or in the name of, right? But it's actually not that at all. It's just another world system. The adversary has been crafty enough to formulate all of the factions needed to herd the people into their demise. All the factions necessary, from atheism to Christianity, right? He's been able to create every faction that you can imagine just to encompass the mindset of mankind. No matter what level they're on, he's meeting them there. Yeah. I don't know where you guys are, but I'm going to end this live in just a minute. I want you to know that the Father's interested in a military force, and that's what kinetic prayer is all about. There is a desire for divine word and workforce in the earth. And it doesn't take as many people to get the work done. I mentioned to you earlier about this thing that the Father was sharing with me about the 12 and about the 12. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to tell you all of it. But how that 12 produced 590,460,000. What was it? 590,490,000 scattered to flight. That's what that puts to flight? Just 12 people? Yeah, if we do the math right. 9 times. Every times we bring those two together, 9 times the last thing adds up to this. It's amazing what he's doing in the earth. Understand, you're his weapon of choice. That's why you were born. That's why you were formed. You're his weapon of choice. You're the battle axe in his hand. Listen, huh? All it takes is instruments and movement in order to facilitate what he's doing, chopping down and cutting down and breaking and destroying and dashing into pieces. Listen, something so amazing that he's doing on the earth. He's dealing with gatekeepers from all vantage points of life. He's dealing with the gatekeepers because the gatekeepers have failed the people. No matter what sphere of influence they're in, the gatekeepers have failed the people. And now the Father's getting ready to deal with the gatekeepers. You know what he began to talk to me about? And I'm just going to hit this point and then I'm going to get off of it because then we're going to go back through here and just, we'll focus on whatever the Father wants us to focus on about tonight. I don't know if he wants me to just leave it at this because this is actually prayer. Did y'all know that? That what we're doing is actually a form of prayer because I'm beseeching. I am beckoning. I'm sending a message to you. There's a phrase that's throughout scripture, I pray thee. It's a conversation that's being had to bring a person or to bring a person over to another persuasion, to bring them to another state of mind. This is prayer. This is prayer. Now, will we decree and declare some things? Absolutely. We will. But this is prayer. I think I must save one of these conversations. We're going to talk a little bit about the enemy of kinetic prayer and how the prophets, the sons of God, have been destroyed. And that destruction didn't happen outside of religious institutions. It's happened inside of religious institutions. And this is why people are seeking for old moves that they can't even quantify, by the way, seeking old moves and not in a position for the new move because you steady killing prophets. I don't care where I've been over the course of my life, from teenagehood to adulthood, there have been people that have, and the reason I say despise, I don't mean they despise me, but they despise what I'm carrying. They don't take this age of believer, quote unquote, does not take leadership serious. You know, in Samuel's day, Samuel the prophet, not just the judge, when Samuel showed up in a space, people was asking questions. Are we good? Did we miss something? Did we mess up? Samuel, are you come in peace? People don't take that serious. This is why I could send out an invitation to people and they thought it was on their time. I'm telling you, the Father's not interested in our convenience in this season. He's not interested in all of the excuses that we're going to make not to show up. Because if you knew that he was speaking, if you could understand that it was him that had assigned this, what makes you think that I want to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning just for general purposes? What makes anybody think there has to be a purpose behind it? We literally converged with two different prayer hours, two different prayer dimensions we dealt with by coming in at this 3 o'clock hour. It wasn't something that I thought of. I just followed what he said. We dealt with two different prayer watches tonight. The 1 to the 12 to 3 and the 3 to 6. This is the height of demonic activity. What we're talking in right now is the height of demonic activity. Do you know that as the sons are converging in this place to do this thing that the Father has told us to do, that we're interrupting and intercepting what darkness desires to do in the earth, what darkness desires to do in the earth concerning sons. Let me get that straight, because there are some things that are going to happen in the earth that darkness is assigned to do that has, we're not even, you can't, I don't even know what to say. It's some stuff you're not going to pray back. Like, you're not going to stop the plagues that are getting ready to be released in the earth, but you better be in position so you don't catch the plague. Does that make sense? That's the difference between kinetic prayer and prayer that just has potential to go somewhere, right? Prayer has potential to go somewhere, has the right form, has the right shape, has a little bit, some similarities, but it's not moving. That means the people that are carrying the word don't have the weight to carry the word. Therefore, there's no force behind it. So there's no enforcement. Woo. Mm. Father, we just thank you for tonight. Thank you for your word. Thank you for your word and for what you're doing, for the work that you're doing in us, for what you're doing to us. I just sense such a strong shift just in my person, and I want the sons to feel that same thing. I want you to be aware of the shift, but the awareness of that shift happens in proximity to the shifter. Mm-mm-mm. Father, we just give you praise for tonight. So many things, so many things I want to talk about all at once. And I want to say this, those of you who are going on this journey, tonight was just an introduction. Those of you who are going on this journey, there's some things that I want to give you that other people are going to have to pay for at the end of this journey. And they are complete. I'm just sewing up some loose ends by Friday. They are complete, but I'm not going to give them to anybody until we've gone through this journey, because it needs to be cleared, it needs to be understood, so that when you enter into that space, that you really understand what you're dealing with. To imply that you're a son of God implies that you're a God. And that's not far-fetched. That's not me making something up. Only people that don't understand that are the people of this age, right? The religious of this age don't understand that. That's not something they want to understand. You know why? Because it means that there's a responsibility. And if we could just keep pushing our responsibility off into the ether, God do it. If we could just keep pushing our responsibility off, Jesus take the wheel, then we have no responsibility. Then what is our purpose? What therefore is our purpose? If we're pushing all of the responsibility that was given to us, if we're trying to push that, not that they're going to do it, because the master said it's finished. He did his part. Now he's sitting in the heavens, seated at the right hand of the Father, interceding for us. Okay, making intercession. Okay, that's what he's doing. He's making intercession. You're not going to instruct God. You're not going to instruct him. He's not going to allow it in this season. We can't instruct him. He's the instructor. We have to get our movement, and our ideas and our concepts from him. Okay. So this is why we're the lesser God, because he's the God of gods, right? But what he desires for those that are in the earth to do is to begin to create, to have dominion, to replenish. How do you replenish something? You have to identify with what it is and understand how it works, the mechanisms, and all of that behind it. We're so tied up in all of the stuff that they're putting out in front of us as far as the news is concerned. And we'll talk some more about a couple of things. But that pill that I was talking about today really just legit just came out. The one with the use 100% of your brain. Watch the movie, because you're going to see. The adversary don't bring you out on the ledge to do anything but cut it off. Okay? He's going to bring you out on the ledge to cut it off. Okay? I love y'all. I appreciate you being here with me. 3 of y'all stayed tonight. 5 of y'all were here, and I appreciate it. Listen, if you want to share, you may share um, this with the people that you know and love. Share it with them. And you may share that uh, we are doing the kinetic prayer dimension. I'm going to give people the rest of this week. We have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the rest of this week to get on board. And then I'm going to close the doors because what I have to share goes way far beyond. This will be a private setting. It won't be an open setting. It'll be private, and then, that'll be what it is. I'll use clips from it in spaces just to alert people of some things. Absolutely. The tables are turning, Elder. The tables are turning. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. This was a sacrifice, and I'm telling you right now that the Father is not, he's not, he's not blind to the sacrifice that we make when we respond to his call. This ain't Apostle Christian's call. And be it known, I've been up since this morning at about 6 or 7 o'clock. So it's now going on to 5 o'clock in the morning. And I've been up, okay? I've been up. Divine reversal, Elder. I've been up, okay? I thought I was going to take a nap before I got on tonight, but I did not. I wasn't able to go to sleep. It was so much in me, and I didn't even share the half of what I desired to share with you. But I believe that this was foundational, and that this was enough for you to chew on, enough to help begin to push you in a direction, okay? Coming above that space that you've been living under, getting on top. He said, above and not beneath. There's a place of above that he's calling us to. The beneath space is not for us. It's not for us. This is a time for us to stand above and not beneath, okay? At the head and not the tail. And I promise you, the Father is moving everything to make sure that that happens. He's moving it. I'm telling you, it's almost like overnight. This reversal is almost overnight. In one season, you were looking at this person this way. You thought that this was the situation or the conditions, and so you were looking to capitalize. People have looked to capitalize off of your position. But the Father says, I'm turning it. I'm reversing it. I'm transposing it. You're gonna be sung in another key in this season. I'm declaring to you the divine reversal of heaven. You're going to be sung in another key. The name, when people say your name, is going to be in another, it's going to be in another key. It's not going to be resonating the same that it's always resonated. Because some things have changed. Some things have changed. Some recognition. You're recognizing some things. Some realizations have taken place. Some things have changed. I love you guys. I appreciate you for being here with me tonight, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 a.m. And I'll be here early because I really am going to position this thing where we are able to hear music and see things and all of that. Because, quite honestly, I don't want to be on at 3 a.m. in the morning. I would rather just, I don't know if that's going to be a mandate. I don't know if he's going to mandate that I be on at 3 a.m. because he did mandate it when I was doing Periscope. So I might just need to go with what I know unless he changes it, right? But 3 a.m. I'm excited because listen, the key of me is changing. Listen. I promise you, the key of you is changing. I love it. I love it and I love him. And I'm thankful tonight for this opportunity to be before you. Y'all know when I come, I didn't come to just do a 15-second spot. Although I need to be doing reels right now. Come on. I'm a song in the earth. Yes, Lord. Somebody wrote notes. Thank you, Lord. Somebody wrote notes. Tonight is all about grade levels. Where are you? Uh-oh. Here come the yawns. It's time to cross over into that space. I pray tonight for you that you have sweet sleep, but not only that you have sweet sleep, but that the dream dimension opens up to you in a way that it's never opened up before, that you have encounters that you've never had before, divine encounters, that you walk through portals that you've never walked through before, because there are some things that the Father desires to show you as a God in the earth. There are some things that he wants to show you, just like he showed Adam in that garden. He wants to show it to us. He wants to show it to us so we'll know what we're supposed to be executing. What are the orders of execution, right? So this is what he wants to do. I love you so much. I will see you Wednesday. Um, Definitely. I guess I'll be right here, but it's a thing of it's still the same channel. But if I do it from the streaming software versus here, then of course it'll be another link. So I'll post, oh God, I'll send that link out if I have to, but you'll find me if you're on the channel. Okay. I don't know what he wants to do. So I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not always gonna know upfront what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. You just have to have the spirit of the doing in order to begin to walk in a direction, and then he directs the path. The footsteps, the steps of good men are ordered by the Father. But you got to do something. Got to do something. I love you. I'll see you Wednesday. Until the next time we meet, peace to you in your house. And I want to remind you that the body is not a me thing. It's a we thing. All right? I'll see you Wednesday. Peace.